Speaking in tongues is one of the greatest spiritual advantages given to the New Testament believer. It is not optional, not ceremonial, and not emotional. It is a divine spiritual technology for activating God's power in the believer's life. Pastor Chris teaches that any believer who neglects tongues is underutilizing the power of the Holy Spirit within them. 1. What speaking in tongues really is. Strong emphasis. Speaking in tongues is a spiritual language inspired by the Holy Spirit, spoken from the human spirit, not the mind. It is not learned. It is not controlled by emotions. It is not gibberish. It is not for show. It is spirit-to-spirit communication with God. He that speaketh in an unknown tongue speaketh not unto men, but unto God. 1 Corinthians 14:2. A key emphasis. Tongues bypass the limitations of human intellect. Your spirit speaks divine mysteries. You pray perfect prayers, even when your mind has no understanding. 2. Why tongues are a necessity, not a luxury. Pastor Chris strongly emphasizes that Christianity is a spiritual life, and tongues are the engine room of that life. Major reasons tongues are essential. To spiritual edification, building power. Speaking in tongues charges your spirit, just like charging a battery. He that speaketh in an unknown tongue edifieth himself. 1 Corinthians 14:4. Weak Christians pray little in tongues. Strong Christians pray much in tongues. You cannot be spiritually weak and pray in tongues consistently. Be access to divine mysteries. Tongues allow believers to utter hidden truths and divine secrets that the mind cannot process. Howbeit in the Spirit he speaketh mysteries. 1 Corinthians 14:2. You speak God's wisdom. You pray out divine strategies. So you unlock answers before problems arise. C. Fellowship with God at the highest level. Tongues are the deepest form of communion with God. Pastor Chris explains that English prayer involves the mind. Tongues prayer engages pure spirit fellowship. This is why prolonged tongues prayer brings intimacy, joy, clarity, and spiritual sensitivity. But 3. Tongues and spiritual power. Very strong emphasis. Pastor Chris teaches that power flows through tongues. Tongues activate faith, boldness, confidence in God, authority over circumstances, supernatural strength. And many believers want power but avoid tongues. Tongues are the switch that turns power on. You cannot operate in God's power consistently without praying in tongues. 4. Tongues and the mind. Overriding the flesh. One major teaching in the book is that tongues silence the flesh and dominate the mind. When you pray in tongues, the flesh is subdued, doubt is shut down, fear loses control, faith rises automatically. Tongues help you pray beyond feelings, moods, and circumstances. 5. How to practice tongues effectively. Practical emphasis. Pastor Chris gives very practical instruction. Yield your spirit. Don't think, don't analyze, don't wait for emotions. Open your mouth and speak. Be consistent. Tongues are most powerful when practiced daily. Short prayers produce short results. Long prayers produce deep results. He encourages extended periods of praying in tongues, 30 minutes, 1 hour or more. 6. Tongues and life transformation. The book teaches that tongues change your life invisibly, before results appear visibly. The outcomes of a tongues-filled life. Spiritual maturity, direction and clarity, stability in faith, supernatural confidence, victory over temptations, alignment with God's will. You may not know what you're praying, but God knows exactly what you're doing. 7. Tongues as a weapon of spiritual warfare. Pastor Chris emphasizes that tongues are a powerful weapon against Satan. The devil cannot understand tongues. Tongues disrupt demonic operations. Tongues enforce victory before battles arise. Many spiritual victories are won without knowing the battle, simply because tongues were prayed. Major declarations from the book. Tongues are for every believer. Tongues are not optional. Tongues are a spiritual advantage. Tongues are the key to sustained spiritual power. Tongues keep the believer constantly victorious. Final emphasized message. If you want to grow fast spiritually, pray in tongues. If you want power, pray in tongues. If you want consistency, victory, and intimacy with God, pray in tongues. Pastor Chris concludes that a believer who understands and practices speaking in tongues will never live an ordinary Christian life. For more insightful and faith-lifting audiobooks, do well to like and subscribe to this channel. Thank you for watching and listening to us today.